First, I want to put on some blush. So Judy gave me this one size blush palette in my absolute favorite color. It is a cool toned Barbie pink, of course. The only thing about this palette is that it is so pigmented. It looks bomb when I use this for like fun, colorful looks, or even just for the camera. It looks absolutely bomb. But I have to say that I look like an absolute clown, like when I step out with this blush on out in real life, because it's just such a bold pink. So I'll use, typically what I do is I'll take a little bit of the cream formula up top. It's just so opaque that, yeah, it looks quite clownish, I won't even lie, if I were to step outside like this. But like somehow on camera, it translates really, really well. But yeah, even if I use a very, very light hand, it just comes out so bold, and this is the definition of like blush blindness, but it looks good, right? Through the camera. It just instantly makes me look like a doll. But yeah, I do feel kind of sheepish though whenever I step outside in broad daylight with this makeup because it's quite noticeable from like all the way down the street. But nevertheless, that being said, we're gonna put on more. So I usually layer on, I mean, actually I could probably get away with if I just wore the cream brush, but it doesn't look natural or smooth. That's the thing. Like the only thing about this palette that I would criticize is that both the cream and the powder blush can tend to go on a little patchy. But see, look at that. Oh my god. Okay, I forgot to tap off my brush. So now we're really going into clown territory, but that's okay because I'm not going anywhere serious anyway. I don't watch this creator. Actually, I blocked her a long time ago because I knew that she was a grifter from the start. But MJ Gray has been kind of going viral in a bad way on TikTok lately because she just announced her engagement after building an entire platform essentially on decentering men and telling girls not to get married, never to get married. There's nothing wrong with having a decentering men platform, or I mean, like me personally, I find it kind of lame to center an entire channel around decentering men because I feel like if you have to say that you're decentering a topic, then by default, that means that you're centering it, right? So I've said this before on my channel, but in my understanding, my image of what actual decentering men content is makeup content, fashion content, niche fashion, like Gothic Lolita, or, you know, high fashion, thrifting, travel content, knitting, candle making, horseback riding, extreme sports, what else? Cuisine, fine cuisine, tourism cuisine, like being a restaurant reviewer or a hidden hotspot reviewer. Are you catching my drift? Like all of those niches and topics, any channels that are literally not about men are the ones that actually decenter men. Do you know what I'm talking about? There's certain things that we have to do, like chores, for example, right? Nobody really enjoys cleaning up their bathroom or their kitchen, but you have to do it or else your house is going to get covered in dust and get moldy and disgusting and unlivable. So it would be like if I made a channel and said, okay, well, I'm decentering chores because I don't enjoy them. So let's just like make an entire channel about how we hate chores and why, and like dissect every single detail about exactly why I dislike wiping down my kitchen counters. Instead of just hiring a maid or a cleaning service to come once every week or once every month to take care of my chores and be done with it, you know? Or if I can't afford to do that, then make a system for myself that I will clean, you know, certain things on certain days and again, set it and forget it. So aside from or past the amount of minimum time that it would take for me to basically just automate or set up a reliable system for my chores, why would I continue spending more energy and wasting more breath on the topic, dislike it as much as I claim, you know? That's what decentering men content sounds like to me. But anyway, so that was the space that she occupied. I think she was trying to pivot in the months leading up to this, I was going to say scandal. I mean, for her, it's a scandal because she chose to deliberately build a platform on preaching a radicalized message to impressionable, wounded young women that they should never trust men and never date or marry, or trust any man enough to marry him. and then turning around and doing the exact same thing, but then trying to gaslight them that actually still doesn't believe in marriage. Like, no, it's a wrap, girl. So yeah, I clocked that a long time ago. I blocked her. I blocked Wizard Liz, like all those girls off my For You page. What do I tell you, girl, all the time? Okay, I thought I was gonna get on here to do a get ready with me, but apparently I had some shit that I had to get off my chest. So what do I tell you, girls, all the time? I have a series on my channel, actually, a 6-part series on advice that I give to girls in their 20s as a 30-something-year-old auntie, because I am in the fabulous single aunt phase of my life after all. So what is one of the most basic pieces of advice that I tell you girls in your 20s or even late teens? Don't listen to advice from young women unless they're at least 40. Like for me, because I'm 36, I don't listen to anyone unless they're at least 40 years old. That means they have 40 years of life experience under their belt. That is undeniable because of, the constraints of time, right? 40 years is 40 years, mathematically speaking. They have been on this earth longer than I have. So I'm not saying every single 40-year-old in the world is worthy of listening to and taking their advice. But if I was going to seek out advice, that woman has to be at least 40. And the older they are, the better. Duh, because they've had more life experience and they know they've had more run-ins with certain situations that you would never anticipate as a younger person. Okay, so you could actually use this pink in this Girl On palette as a blush as well. The pink is the only shade that is actually matte. Sorry, I was gonna swatch and then I didn't commit to it because I didn't want to ruin the Girl On embossing, but hey, I gotta use this palette at the end of the day anyway, so might as well get over it. Yeah, stop listening to like these young ass girls in their 20s and early 30s. I mean, you could argue that I'm also not in a position to be giving it life advice then, because I'm still 36 is still not that old. But I'll tell you one thing: I'm way more qualified than a 26-year-old. Like, I never said I had all the answers to life, but I'm definitely more qualified than a 26-year-old who never actually worked through all of her trauma and basically got her claim to fame on YouTube by grifting people and selling like manifestation tracks or whatever, manifestation audio tracks. But yeah, MJ Grace, so she's like another one of those creators. I don't know if she's like 4B, what she would classify herself as, but she's had several pieces of content out, like actively encouraging young women, telling them to not get married, to not trust men, etc., which you shouldn't. But the danger with creators like her is that they push a very, very narrow expectation and ideal of behavior out to their followers, which is always suspicious from the jump. If you have no room for nuance, if you have no capacity for taking into account different people's situations, different cultures. Like, the world is vast and big, okay? There's many different cultures, many different backgrounds that people come from. Even irregardless of age, if you're somebody that has not really traveled far past your own hometown or your own home country, then you really have no business or expertise to be speaking on like a universal rule that you think all women should follow when it pertains to how they deal with men in their lives. Anyway, the point is, we're not saying that you can't change your mind. People change their minds all the time. Like, even I never particularly wanted to be married. I never particularly saw myself being a mother, but I'm open to the idea that like one day if I meet someone that is actually a good match for me, yeah, sure. I mean, I'm not against the idea of getting married. It's just that right now I don't really see it in the cards for me, and it's not really something that I'm not preoccupied with the idea at the moment, right? Yeah, like I don't have any extreme feelings towards it. That's another red flag. If you listen to a lot of the content creators that are out these days, and if they tend to talk in absolutes, or like they don't really have flexibility in terms of, I'm not talking about like certain harsh truths that a lot of young girls kind of need sometimes to be told in a tough love type of way in order to get them to understand how the world works. I'm talking about like if they don't have more than one or two suggestions on how to actually practice achieving certain goals that most women, or women that consume this type of content for social climbing, leveling up, that kind of stuff, which again, there's nothing wrong with, but if they don't have anything outside, maybe just like a handful of techniques and strategies that they seem like they are trying to apply a one-size-fits-all policy to, then that's always your sign that it's probably a grifter. Actually, 99% of the time, they're grifting. Just think of the principle of the matter. If they worry more about their image on social media, if they're more concerned with making their page look pretty and looking, perfect and sounding perfect all the time, every time that they come on camera, if they're more concerned with being right and saving their own face rather than getting to the truth of things, which is what would actually help their followers, then by default, they have less bandwidth to be actually genuinely worried about or catering to the needs of their audience. All right. So yeah, I don't have sympathy for creators like that. I'm not surprised at all, but it raised a interesting topic. Sorry. My brain is short-circuiting. You guys know I cannot multitask because I don't script my videos, okay? I go off the cuff. I'm confident enough to come on here and show you all my flaws and my imperfect process. The thing is that, I throw around ideas. I try my best to give you guys frameworks to work with. I try my best to give you anecdotes of real life situations that I have been through, as well as some of my acquaintances, in order to warn you on what you can expect in certain situations. So all of my advice really stems from real world empirical experiences that either I myself or my close cohorts have gone through. And if I haven't gone through it, I don't shy away from developing my own theories on how to go about it in an intelligent way, or how to, play the game in a way where you're playing chess and not checkers. But I'm never going to come on here and try to shove down your throat that you must go with this one strategy, or that my way is the highway, my way is the only way of doing things. I might tell you that this is my belief, and it might be biased. I might tell you in certain circumstances that I would absolutely never do XYZ with a guy or something, for example. Me personally, I would never date a guy unless I was benefiting from him significantly, which for me at this point in my life includes financially. Absolutely, just taking into account my own situation in life and my goals. For me, that's an absolute line in the sand in terms of my policy towards dating. But I'm not saying that you necessarily have to do that, but I'll make it known that this is just where I stand on the matter. So if you have if you have a different way that you want to conduct your love life or your relationships with men, or if you don't want to be so strict on requiring them to pay for or support your life, then that's your prerogative, right? But just my thing is don't come crying back to me and make me have to say I told you so when you get bamboozled by that man, or you actually get taken advantage of and you realize that actually, Ren might have had a point, that money is a good way to vet men. But anyway, not to get too off track. So what was I trying to say? Oh yeah. So this whole situation with MJ Gray getting engaged to that guy that she only dated for 9 months. I can't find my eyeshadow primer. I'm just going to use my concealer. So it made me think of how important integrity really is in not just the social media game, but just in terms of how you want to live your life. Integrity really is the foundation of everything. And to be clear, very few people have the luxury of operating in full integrity under capitalism, right? Unless you are in a very privileged position, like you're a Nepo baby, or you have enough financial cushion to where you know that no matter what you do, no matter what mistake you made or how many losses you may incur, you could start 5 businesses and they all fail and lose millions of dollars and you'll still be okay. You'll never want for anything because of your family's wealth or something. Unless you fall under that cohort or that camp of people, then yes, chances are you are going to have to compromise somewhere along the line, so to speak, in terms of your morals, because you got to eat, right? So this is why even artists, filmmakers, animators, people who have gone into fields based on their passions, at the end of the day, they still have to sell their skill for money, which often includes taking on jobs that is not necessarily 100% authentic to what they actually wanted to do, right? I mean, everyone participates in our economy, so a lot of artists, what they end up doing is that they'll produce art for commercials or for, big blockbuster films, but those films are obviously being bankrolled by huge production companies like Disney or Marvel Studios or something. And while, yes, it's great that, for the most part, I'm not taking anything away from creatives in those fields who manage to get put on those big projects. While it may be a dream come true for them, you could argue that at the end of the day, they still have to compromise a little bit though, right? Because it's like if they didn't have the necessity of feeding themselves with their art, then they wouldn't have to sell it to Disney or to Marvel or someone.
The reality is that most people are not going to have the privilege or the good fortune of being in the right place at the right time to where they can produce a completely original IP such as Attack on Titan and then have that original work from 100% their own imagination be the thing that catapults them to financial and commercial success. No, for the vast majority of artists, 99.99%, it's going to be just a case of getting in where they can fit in. They're just going to have to get in on whatever projects are available, even if it's not their first choice, as long as it's something that pays their bills, something that allows them to still use their artistic skills to earn a living, then that's going to be the compromise that most people have to make.
Okay, I'm going to go in with pink. But for the most part, this whole situation with like MJ Gray and the new developments also in the Wizard Liz case, it just highlighted to me again how important it is to operate in as much integrity as possible, as much as it is possible for you in your particular social economic situation. And I want to be very clear. Operating in integrity means that you don't sell out, essentially, right? Anything that requires you to compromise your morals or to, put your actual value offer on the back burner in favor of doing things that maybe don't add as much value to society, or they don't add as much to your audience base, but they bring you more dollars, they generate more revenue for you. Like every content creator, everyone, again, who participates in capitalism has to decide or strike a balance for themselves, like how much they want to stay true to themselves and stay true to their philosophy and value systems, while also, dealing with the reality of having to pay bills. But at the end of the day, it's a slippery slope, right? So you want to make sure that, like, whatever compromises that you do have to make, you want to make sure you're very consciously making them. Hold on a second. Maxine is freaking out. Say hi, Maxine. Hi, Maxine. Okay. My chair is broken. Bear with me. See, if I had no integrity, I could have just, done a bunch of rage baity, low vibrational content highlighting like highly triggering topics about, I don't know, the xenophobia that's going on in Japan right now, but I don't do that. If I did that, I could have already garnered millions of views by now. I could have gone viral several times over and cashed in, and I would have a new chair. So I don't have to wobble like this every time I come on live. And yet I don't do that because it's not worth it to me. Like, I can deal with this chair until next week. I mean, I could buy a new chair anytime, honestly. But the thing is, I want to get rid of this chair because I have 2 broken chairs in my house right now. Yeah. I don't know how that happened. 2 broken office style chairs. Yeah, I want the trash collector to pick up my broken chairs before I order the new chair because, I don't have a lot of space in my studio apartment. So I live in a studio apartment. I could have sold out. I could have just decided to do rage bait Japan content, which would have made me bank, but that would be operating out of integrity.
So another way to consider it is that I would not be willing to have my good name attached to such low vibrational clickbaity content that I feel doesn't add anything positive to society or to my followers. No amount of money is worth me attaching my name to such low vibrational crap permanently. That would be a cost far greater than any paycheck could repay, or any huge follower count could make up for. So needless to say, no thank you.
So when I say that you should strive to operate in integrity, if push comes to shove and if you are in the position to choose your values over money, you should choose your values. But it's not because I'm not saying that you need to do that to appease the public or anything like that. You don't do that to, gain public admiration or public approval. In fact, sometimes choosing your values and choosing your integrity can still get misunderstood by the masses, and you might still be, villainized, especially if you're a woman that dares to live in an unorthodox way or in an unapologetic way. Oh my God, I can't get my words out. But you might still get crucified. and villainized, even if you do choose your values. But like, actually, that's a good scenario to run through in your head. If I was still villainized, or if nothing changed, right, in terms of how my social standing is, or how I get evaluated by my peers and all of that stuff. If nothing really changed for me as a result of choosing a certain value system, would I still feel peaceful inside? Would I still feel like I made the right choice? And if the answer is yes, then okay, that means that that's a good decision for you to make. Does that make sense? Like, choosing integrity, working in integrity is more so for you to be able to sleep at night in the long run. Because what happens is that if you start doing things out of integrity because you find that, you know, the other alternative is more lucrative, or it brings you more material success, it brings you more social acceptance, etc., whatever you are looking for, which is likely what you have a lack mindset around due to wounds from childhood, right? So you see how the childhood is connected to any and every single thing that you try to do as an adult. But whatever is tempting to you, what's a good analogy? Whatever is kind of like that shiny diamond or carrot dangling in front of your face. I'm not saying that it's bad to do things, or, you know, pursue a business or pursue actions that build wealth. No, I very much encourage the building of personal wealth, especially as a single woman in today's society. It's very important that you manage your money well and strive towards financial freedom, which will ultimately give you more agency over your own life. But okay, so if the action that is required to, let's say, gain a lot of quick success, whether it be money or social standing or whatnot, if that action directly contradicts with your value system or what you want to stand for, and you choose it anyway because you feel like, okay, you know what, at the end of the day, I have to eat, right? At the end of the day, you know, I still live in the 3D world, so I need to make sure that all physical needs are met. But the problem with that is that what happens is that you will develop a cognitive dissonance between who you really are, the person, like your younger self, let's say, would actually look up to, versus someone who is acting in direct opposition to your value system. And a lot of times, like, this is happening on a subconscious level because we don't want to face the truth. Like, nobody wants to admit that they're acting out of integrity. So a lot of times what happens is that people convince themselves that, okay, you know what, actually no, this is in line with my morals. Like, I'm not breaking any ethical boundaries here. I'm not selling out. So, which is what is happening with MJ Gurria right now. She's trying to like twist and mold the narrative to still fit her previous preachings about how women should avoid marriage at all costs. And she's still trying to cling on to that old story of no, but I'm still the same person. Like, I still don't believe in marriage. It's just that I'm the exception. But I'm still telling you girls to not get married because, you know, I'm the special one. Of course, I would be the one that ends up with a good or a lucky happy ending with my marriage. But you girls, I'm warning you to not get married because you're not going to end up as fortunate as me, because you're not as hot as me, or you're not, you know, you're not in my position. What it comes down to a lot with grifters like Wizard Liz and MJ Gray is that at the end of the day, it's the female ego. They think that, or they want to believe that they are the exception. And honey, no one is above the program. Okay, no one is the exception. And if you think in that way, if you buy into that sort of like patriarchal, hierarchical thinking that, well, as long as I'm better or I'm higher value, whatever that means, than the next woman, as long as I'm hotter and prettier, okay, that means I should deserve a better outcome, then that shows me that you're not really self-governed. You know, you're not really a warm-blooded animal. Hold on, I'm putting this kitty in timeout. So yeah, if you act out of integrity, if you try to take the easy way out because you feel like it's going to get you to your financial goals, or it's going to get you to your freedom faster, what's going to happen is that you are going to develop cognitive dissonance, whether at a conscious or a subconscious level. And usually it's subconscious, right? Because we don't like to admit openly, not even to ourselves, that we're doing something in direct contradiction to our values or what we, you know, originally set out to do and to accomplish in this world, what we originally set out to stand for. Like in my case, for example, I have a social media platform that I have certain goals. My goal on this platform is to younger women, right? And older too. I mean, all ages obviously are welcome, but I'm mostly speaking to like the younger version of me because that's typically the cohort that would be looking to me for life advice as a kind of internet big sister or older sister figure. So the most important thing to me should not be money, right? Of course, I need money to survive. I need it to even continue, to make it worthwhile for me to continue putting my effort into my content. But at the end of the day, like do I need to be a millionaire? No. Would I like to be a millionaire? Of course. But I have a steady day job and I don't depend on social media for my livelihood, like not even 5% of my livelihood. In fact, it probably, if you tally everything up, I'm probably like losing, I probably put more into social media than I get out of it. Like what I get maybe on a lucky month, I'll get an 8,000 yen payout, which if you think about like the amount of Wi-Fi and electricity that I used to go live, all the editing software, and of course, not to mention the time that I put into my videos, it costs more than a measly little 8,000 yen per month. But it's like, that's fine because I'm focusing on issues that I think are important and that are unique and that I feel like I try to fill a gap in the market with the issues that I bring up, right? Because like sometimes I'll hop on a trending topic if I feel like I really have something worthwhile to say about it. But I really try to bring you like unique niche topics that are based on, again, empirical evidence that I have gleaned from my own life experiences. Because I always feel that evidence or no strategy that I obtained or that I implemented in real life is way more potent than just theory. So that's my value system when it comes to being a content creator. And so if I were to do something that were like directly selling out or it's blatantly in contradiction to that value system, like again, if I started to just post rage bait content about Japan in order to gain views and AdSense, then yeah, that might temporarily let me catch a windfall of temporarily increased profit from my social media activity, but it would ultimately come at a much greater price than whatever monetary amount that I would be able to gain from such a feat. You understand? Because the cost that would come at would be literally my soul. It would erode away at my core identity and everything that I said that I stood for, that all of the promises, like, okay, I don't know you, you don't know me personally. It's kind of a parasocial relationship, but still there's a level of responsibility there that I have to you, right? It runs on an honor system too, because there's no way for you guys to verify me as a stranger on the internet. You can't verify whether what I say is true or not in any scenario, but what you can go over is like my patterns and my consistency in the way that I deliver content on my channel. And over time, that's what develops true, long-lasting trust between like me and my followers, right? So if I were to like sell out or do anything that is in direct contradiction to anything that I preach on my channel, like for example, if I started to, because I talk a lot about how it's very important to me for us to all undo and deprogram ourselves from internalized misogyny that has been programmed into us since birth. If I were to all of a sudden turn around and give into my base nature of wanting to, put other women down in order to make myself feel better, or if I just realize that, hey, you know what, gossip sells, being catty, being petty, scrutinizing women for their choices and their bodies and whatnot, that sells more than these abstract topics that I'm trying to talk about that only really resonate with a person of a certain intellectual caliber, then that would be compromising my values and my integrity, right? And it doesn't matter how much I want to lie to myself that it's not happening. At a subconscious level, your subconscious cannot lie to you. Like you can't lie to yourself for too long. You can do it at the conscious level, but subconsciously, there's gonna be cracks that start to form in the system.
Imagine that you have this this huge door of super reinforced steel. This is like the strongest, most bulletproof, resilient material that you could ever make a door from. While, yeah, you might be protected ultimately if you just stay behind the door, if you are in an environment or you put yourself in a situation where you're getting pummeled by hundreds or thousands of bullets a day, the door, right? Not you. It might never fall down, but it's not going to come out of the ordeal without at least some scratching or denting. So it's inevitable, no matter how sturdy the material is, it's not going to come out completely unblemished if you put it under heavy, heavy duress. So again, like thousands of bullets hitting it incessantly, it'll just be death by a thousand cuts. You are putting yourself in the same danger every time you compromise your integrity for cheap or unaligned pursuits. So just because you have a really strong inner core, or you think that your mind, your will is strong enough to overcome everything, that might be true, but it's like, why put yourself in the position in the first place, though, to where you could still get bruised? Because you will get bruised if you put yourself in the line of fire, right? You'll get burned if you play with fire. Even every little kid knows this and learns this quickly. You're not invincible, no matter how much your ego likes to think or convince yourself that you are. Why not just avoid altogether such a predicament?
And so it's going to erode away at your sense of self-worth. It could manifest in very different ways, but at the end of the day, what's happening is that you're setting yourself up for a long road of disassociation. So basically, you'll always know deep down that what you're trying to present to the world is not in true alignment with what you're actually doing, right? So you can try to convince yourself, for as long as you are able to keep it up, that you're not doing anything wrong or that you're not deceiving people, but deep down, your subconscious is always going to keep score. It's going to know, even though you might not admit it outwardly. Okay, but when you sleep, you might start having nightmares. You might start subconsciously berating yourself because now you don't respect yourself. That's another thing, right? You start to lose respect for yourself. Like, hey, so I just proved to myself that I'm capable of selling out for a couple of quick bucks or for a social following, right? Like, once you start to see yourself that way, then it's just going to be a slippery slope, like a snowball effect from then on. Then you will start to be less strict, like be more lenient about certain other people that you let into your life. Like maybe before, when you were operating in full integrity, you ran a strict program and you only let like certain other people that were at the same level of integrity as you or above into your life. But then once you start to compromise your own values, you start to judge yourself subconsciously, and you start to think that, well, okay, if I sink down to, this level, or if I compromise my morals, then that means that I deserve to, even if I run across another person with unscrupulous moral character, or if they're not 100% trustworthy, well, maybe I deserve them. So I'm going to give them a chance. This is what's going to happen subconsciously over time when you act out of integrity. So do you see what I'm trying to say? It's not at all about, like, don't get it twisted. It's not about saving face. It's not about gaining approval or gaining accolades and society. Yes, that will likely be a positive side effect, because people, like I said, your followers, your supporters, they're going to see over time your consistency, and they're going to be able to glean from, the patterns, the consistent behavior from you, the consistent stances that you take towards certain issues. They're going to be like, hey, wow, like Ren has been saying this from the beginning, since before it was a popular talking point to now, it just happens to be a buzzword now. But like this whole time, Ren has been consistent on ABC topics. Or even if I have changed my mind at times, they're going to be like, okay, but Ren always gives us a good explanation. She always backs up her changes of mind with data or with like a solid explanation of why she changed her approach to such and such topic. And so, yeah, it's like a positive byproduct usually of acting in integrity, but that should not be the reason why you act in integrity. You do it for yourself, because like I said, if you don't, you're going to start developing that cognitive dissonance. And depending on, it's different in every case, but eventually over time, you are just going to continue to slowly distrust yourself more. It's going to start bleeding into other areas of your life, especially if you're a woman. What often happens is that, again, you're going to start subconsciously thinking that you don't deserve more. Like if you are the type of person that is kind of giving into the grift, or you're kind of selling out in a way that that you don't have to, or, you shouldn't have taken the bait, you shouldn't have given into the temptation, because you were actually doing fine anyway before selling out. It's just that you were greedy to have the fame and attention or whatever that you were after. Then sooner or later, like, you are going to think that, okay, well, that means that I probably don't deserve the best of the best type of guy, or I don't deserve friends that are 100% loyal or have certain qualities, because I don't even respect myself now, because I'm not acting in a way that is congruent with my own value system. I need to wash my brushes. All right. I like this springy color palette. The only thing about this color palette though is that it's so bright, especially on monolids, that I feel like I can never, like whenever I use this palette, I have to do a really nude lip, almost like a no color lip. So maybe that's why I subconsciously always buy so many like pale pink, borderline just clear lip glosses, because I enjoy playing around with colorful eyeshadow, but I feel like I really need to tone down my lips if I do colorful eyeshadow because it just looks like too clownish. But since I'm not going anywhere, I'm not going to the Met Gala or anything, we're just gonna use my new Chanel lipstick because I feel like it. So I really like this color. I was gonna originally get a red. That's what I was initially looking for. But then I kept seeing Margot Robbie use this color in one of the new Chanel ads. And I realized that I feel way more comfortable with this shade on because I wanted like an everyday bold color. I feel like it still gives the vibe of red. Like if you look at me from afar, it's like almost red, but it's not so harsh because it's actually like a just a very strong dark rosy pink. And you can also put it on more sheer if you wanted to, like depending on how much you wanted to have a bold lip effect. So what I'm gonna do, usually what I do is I take a Q-tip and I kind of just smudge the edges of my lips because I feel like I mean it really depends on your own lip shape and everything. But I feel like for my lips, especially if I leave it like this with the sharp edges, some people look really good, like really, high fashion supermodel, boom, with the really sharp edges. But for me, I feel like it looks very dated. Like it gives a very dated 90s lipstick application technique not in a good way if I leave it with the sharp edges. So I like to just soften it up and blur it out. And I feel like that's more flattering for me. Although, I don't know if you can tell, my lips are irritated, which is perplexing to me. I think, so they're kind of like irritated across the perimeter, which happens from time to time with my lips. Like, I don't know what's going on. This time, I feel like it was triggered by my, where is it? It literally was in my bag a few seconds ago. But, oh, here it is. It was right in front of me. I got a new YSL Love Shine Candy Glaze. This is in number 2, as I always get. But I think because I haven't worn it in a while, or maybe it's just because I haven't worn anything with lip plumping properties in a while, I feel like it kind of irritated my lips. I've never been allergic to this, though, in the past. I'm definitely not allergic. I mean, unless I developed a sudden allergy, that would really suck. I'm just going to chalk it up to I haven't used it in a while, so my lips kind of were not used to or not expecting a lip plumping formula. This one is not super plumping, like it doesn't hurt or tingle or anything, but it does kind of fill out the lips. So yeah. But now they're swollen anyway because of the reaction. So now I don't need to put this down to achieve that plump look. Let me see. I want to find a smaller brush. I need to clean my brushes too. Actually, we're just going to use the sponge tip applicator it comes with. Okay, I'm going to use this light pale gold color for my inner corner. Oh, actually, wait, before I forget, I have to do tear bag liner. Which shade do I want to use? Oh, I forgot. You guys, I forgot that I got this too. This is a new limited edition shade of the Can Make Lame Mania glitter duo. Should I use this or should I save this? I want to make a swatch video, so I'll save this. But wait a minute, I forgot to use the blue. So let's use, where can I put this blue? I used it last time, I just did like a bicolor type of eyeshadow design, but again, I feel like it's a little too bold for outside. I don't necessarily want to draw attention in the big camera, so I'm just going to use it as a pseudo liner today. Yeah, that's cute. What's with all the denim lately? Even Chanel also did a denim collection. Although between the two, I'll definitely have to say that the Guerlain collection was more up my alley in terms of the color palette as well as the pigmentation of the eyeshadows. Like, again, this is my first time using Guerlain eyeshadows, but I'm quite pleased at how pigmented and how smooth everything is. I feel like that's uneven because my eyelids are uneven. But I feel like I need to put a little more on my right lid so that you can see it. I'm going to put like regular black liner over this as well before my lashes. I'm into the denim packaging as well. I really want to get a lipstick with the matching packaging. So Apparently, this is made from upcycled denim material, and it's quite gorgeous. It's quite flawless. I don't know if you can see, but it has like flower ridges kind of etched into it with the gold detailing. Not a good habit to fall into at this time when I'm trying to be more financially responsible. But hey, we will always find a way. Okay, to your back makeup. So yeah, never compromise your values or your integrity for outside validation, material gain, things that are secondary to your identity as a person. This goes as well for, it's the same principle that applies when it comes to if you're being mistreated in any type of environment, like a friend group or a corporate situation. Like, this is why I always advocate that I'm not saying it's the easy choice, but it's a pretty simple choice, right? When something is escalating to the point where you are blatantly being disrespected or abused, or let's say you're experiencing power harassment at work, one thing that I can say that I'm proud of myself about is that I leave at the second of any disrespect from any employer. And that is something that not a lot of people can say, especially in Japan. Even just nowadays with the economy being so bad, like, I am not flippantly saying that, oh yeah, just leave your job, you'll get another one, you'll be fine. Like, no, I'm fully aware of how precarious a situation most working people, most people who work or survive from paycheck to paycheck are in. However, like I said, in the long run though, if you continue to accept abusive treatment or treatment that you know you don't deserve, don't be so naive to think that you can beat the program by just, mentally being strong. Like, no, I'll deal with it. Like, I'll just play along at work, but I still respect myself. I'm still a self-confident person, so it's not going to affect me. Wrong. Don't think you're above the program. Okay, don't fall prey to your ego like that. It will erode you over time. It might not be today or tomorrow or next week, but anytime that you stay, we are creatures of, like, we humans are creatures that are shaped by our environment and our peers, or the people that we have to interact with on a daily basis. No one lives life in a vacuum, okay? Unless, again, like, you happen to be a part of that 0.0001% truly elite, truly wealthy people of the world, then yes, if you can afford to insulate yourself from all of the scammers and the grifters and the abusive people of the world, which, by the way, is still not possible, even if you run in those circles, because there's plenty of psychopaths in the elite wealthy circles as well. That's not the point that I'm trying to make, but we are shaped by our environment and our daily intake of treatment from other people, whether we like it or not, okay? It doesn't matter how strong your self-concept is, how much you think you can override treatment from other people by sheer brute force, you're not going to win in the long run. It's going to come at the cost of a slow eroding away at your self-worth. So if you stay, the longer you stay, every single second, every day that you stay in, let's say, a power harassment situation at work where you know that you're being mistreated and you're being talked down to, you're being gaslit, like all of those things that are abusive behaviors that any healthy individual who respects themselves would never accept. Every extra day that you willingly stay in that environment, whether or not, yes, I understand, okay, you might think that, all right, but my livelihood just depends on this, so what am I supposed to, like, if I quit the job right here and now, I'm going to be without an income source. That's true, but the point I'm trying to make is that your subconscious doesn't know the difference, right? Like, at the end of the day, your subconscious is taking in the message that, hey, she continues to stay here. She's choosing of her free will to stay here with these people working for this manager, even though he is, playing psychological mind games and gaslighting her and abusing her, using his power. So that must mean that she doesn't respect herself. That's what you're going to internalize it as on a subconscious level. So the only way to stop that from happening is you have to make the difficult choice
to get out as soon as possible and nip things in the bud.
You have to make the choice that might seem like, okay, I'm going on a suicide mission. I'm committing social suicide or a career suicide by doing this.
Which actually, in a sense, if you want to get really deep, you are. You are killing that budding version of yourself, which is undesirable, before it has a chance to grow horns.
You have to follow your gut instinct. You have to follow that inner knowing and that intuition of, okay, but in the long run though, which action is going to save your soul? Put aside for a second the considerations about all of your physical needs and whatever, which is important, yes, of course. I'm not saying that it's not, but every decision, when the decision comes down to whether you're going to stand up for yourself, stand up for your values, and reject everything else in favor of staying true to your values, staying true to who you promised yourself that you were going to be. When it comes down to that versus accepting something, accepting treatment that you know you don't deserve, or accepting a situation, an identity that you know you're not actually proud of, deep down, it's spiritual warfare at that point, right? And you have to make the decision that will save your soul, to put it bluntly. So I don't know about you, the choice is yours at the end of the day, but I'm always gonna save my soul. This is where faith comes in too. I'm always going to have the faith that I'll be redirected, I'll be re-guided to the path, to the position, to the situation, to the abundance that I'm meant to be in, as long as I hold the pose and I hold true to my integrity. All right? Stop listening to these 20 or something year old girls telling you. I think they even know the damage that they're doing. But that's not an excuse for being reckless, Because if you're going to have a big platform, if you're going to have the followers and the social media fame and everything, good for you if you manage to garner that following. But with great power comes great responsibility, right?
With great power comes great responsibility.
So I'm not going to say that karma always comes around to get you, because it's not even about that. To me, like, a lot of people talk about karma as if they're talking about from the perspective of like, karma is going to get this person based on what I think they deserve or what I believe their just deserves to be. No human being actually has the authority to dictate or decide what another human being deserves. Or no, it's not about that. It's about the divine order of things and the program, okay? You're not going to beat the program. You're not going to beat the laws of the universe. What goes around is going to come around. So all those followers, all those gullible, wounded young women that you latched onto and preyed on their insecurities by feeding them this content that appealed to, it appealed to their wounds of being mistreated by men in the past, and it appealed to their base nature of wanting to get their lip back or punish these men, remove all access from these men, and we should all go 4B because men aren't lonely enough and they deserve it, blah, blah. I mean, like, they do. Men deserve whatever they bring upon themselves as well. This goes for men and women. I'm not taking up for men necessarily in this life. Don't get it twisted. But what I'm saying is that you think that you can just be out here and recklessly tell hordes and hordes of young women who look up to you and who your voice resonates with, and you decide to abuse that and take advantage of it by feeding them what they want to hear, because you know that it's going to result in more views on your page, more brand sponsorships, more money being funneled into your pocket. And if you think you can just do that and like walk away with your hands clean or walk away scot-free because, hey, it's the internet. These people don't have a way of reaching me. These people don't have any true power or influence over my life. No. Whatever hand that feeds you has the power to starve you as well. It has the power to cancel you. You're not above the program. You are not the exception to the rule. And they all learn sooner or later, one way or another, whether it comes through a man or, a failed business dealing because they did business in bad faith. Therefore, their business itself is built on a house of cards, or it's built on deception. Like, whatever you put out there, it's going to come back to you tenfold. So you better be careful when you're in that stage of putting shit out into the universe. Okay, I think I need to... Oh, it's not that late. It is only 7 p.m. Okay, I was like, I want to make it to big camera before it closes. So I'm going to put on a little more highlight on my tear bag area. See, I really like this entire makeup look on camera. Like the Patrick Star one size blush, as well as the Guerlain Denim Blossom palette. But I'm telling you, I look crazy in person. I'm looking at myself in the mirror. I mean, I dig it, but it's giving very like 80s disco clown makeup. In the 80s when they did like this super angular blush, only accentuating the highest point of your cheekbones. That's what I feel like right now. I feel like I belong in an 80s disco roller skating rink. Like, people do be staring when I walk out of the house in slightly bold makeup. Not that I care, but I don't want to attract dusties. That's the problem. Because, like, that's how men take it. When you wear bright, colorful makeup, they take it as an invitation that they can step to you and flirt with you and talk any type of way. But no, I love this eyeshadow. It's really, really smooth. And I love a classic satin formulation. These three colors are satin and this one is matte. I feel like these classic old school makeup houses like Guerlain and Estee Lauder, they all have really, really good satin eyeshadows. I think there's something to be said about satin eyeshadows being more universally flattering on all types of, like, all ages of skin and even like more mature skin. It gives you that shiny, sparkly effect without emphasizing wrinkles or fine lines. So I think that makes sense that I would gravitate more towards satins as I enter my auntie era. So I am your auntie, okay? I might look like this, but I'm your auntie. So you can keep listening to these little 20-something-year-old girls if you want to. If you want to get led astray by the freaking blind leading the blind. Or you can heed my words. Should I put on eyelashes or should I not bother? You know what? Let's just do it for the sake of completion. I want to get another drink too. I've been obsessed with this new cafe lately. It's not new, like it's been there forever, but it's new to me. I don't know why I never thought to walk into this cafe before, but their drinks are so much better than Starbucks. Actually, pretty much every single other cafe here, like Japanese chain, is better than Starbucks. I don't know why I keep going to Starbucks. I'm gonna stop because literally every other chain has them beat. Like Detour, this one is called New Yorker's Cafe, but it's part of like Renard Cafe Group, which is kind of a slightly more high-end cafe. So I like the Renoir Cafe as well. They don't have one in Chofu, but I went to a couple before in Shinjuku and Shibuya and those busier neighborhoods. And I also like Cafe Veloce. What's the other one? Tully's is okay. Tully is only marginally better than Starbucks, but yeah, Veloce is my favorite. And then Detour has good sandwiches and good seasonal drinks sometimes. Detour has a more milder taste overall, so it depends on like your mood as well. But I think like the New Yorker Cafe has a really good kind of in between. Their drinks are very flavorful, more so than Starbucks in my opinion, but it still strikes that good balance of not being like super overly sweet. No, I can't believe the weekend is almost over. I'm so pissed. You know, I had the worst cramps both yesterday and today. These really bad cramps that I sometimes get right before I get my period. But I'm confusion because, first of all, it happened 2 days in a row, which really freaked me out. Usually it only happens once, like right before my period. Then I don't really have, it's like really bad. But then afterwards, during the actual period, I don't really have strong cramps. Also, whenever I'm in Dubai, I don't have any cramps at all, even in the days leading up to my period. But this time around, I had the same type of like lower abdominal cramps 2 days in a row. And yet it's more than a week earlier to when I'm expecting my next cycle. So I don't know what's going on. I really feel like my period has never been quite the same after the COVID vaccination, if we're going to be real. Like usually timing wise, it comes on time because my cycle is usually like 28 days to 30 days flat. Once in a while, it'll come randomly like an entire week early. And I don't know what that's all about. It can't be perimenopause symptoms, can it? I don't think I'm old enough to go through menopause, right? I guess it depends highly on your own genetic makeup and your DNA, but I don't think my mom went through menopause until well into her 50s. So anyway, no, I don't think it's menopause, but maybe it's a diet thing. Maybe I need to just eat super clean for a couple of days. Or maybe the weather is changing. It could be a combination of factors, actually, because it's like really, really hot all of a sudden. I feel like there was one other thing that happened that I wanted to talk about, but I forgot. Euphoria season 3 is causing quite a tizzy. I never watched Euphoria outside of one or two very short clips on TikTok. So the only extent of the Euphoria, I guess, storyline that I can think of is I just know that everyone loves Cassie. No, everyone loves Maddie. And then everyone hates Cassie because she's like the stereotypical pick-me character. Also, Sydney Sweeney is very polarizing right now. But everyone likes Maddie, as well as Alexa Demi, who is the actress that portrays Maddie. And I guess in season 3, they're all out of high school now and they are working in their respective chosen professions or fields. So Maddie is a talent manager in Hollywood now. Cassie is getting married to Nate, and she is a trad wife who's trying to do OnlyFans. I don't know. But the director of that show is kind of a known creep, right? Sam Levinson. I mean, the fact that Euphoria was originally a high school centered drama depicts a lot of like inappropriate DRUG use and sex scenes between high schoolers. The actors themselves, of course, were adults at the time, but it's basically depicting like R-rated activities between minor characters, which is always a very weird thing. And then now it seems like they're not slowing down at all, especially with the whole Cassie OnlyFans storyline. And one thing that I was really disappointed, although I mean, I can't really be disappointed because, again, it's been established over and over again that Sam Levinson is definitely a creep who, at worst, is just a raging misogynist who doesn't even try to hide it in his works. But at best, he has issues with women. We'll put it that way. Maybe he has insecurities. Actually, more than likely, that's exactly what it is. But I just remember there was like one line that I saw in one of the trailers. They were talking about another character. Again, I don't know anyone outside of Maddie and Cassie and Rue, who is portrayed by Zendaya, right? But Rue is just kind of like a druggie, or now she owes a lot of money to this drug kingpin lady, so she has to become a mule to transport drugs across state lines for her other customers in order to pay her back. I don't know. You can correct me if I got the storylines wrong. But there was one scene. Oh my god. Sorry. The glue is like making my eyelids stick together. I think I need to put a little powder on top. That should fix it. But yeah, there was a scene where one of the characters is talking to Maddie and she was like, hey, did you know that so-and-so is a sugar daddy now? Or like a lot of girls are sugar daddies. This is in the show, right? And you know what? I think that, yeah, that's pretty reflective of where the actual culture is these days. So I'm not blaming Sam Levinson for putting a part about sugar babies into the script necessarily. But then Maddie responds to her, yeah, well, you know, of course I wouldn't do something like that because I'm not a freaking hooker.
I'm not a fucking hooker.
That's Maddie's line, right? And immediately I'm like, okay, I don't even understand how you can enjoy this show if you are even remotely, you have to be a raging misogynist on the same level as Sam and Livingston, I feel like, in order to enjoy this show. Because if not, like if you actually have deprogrammed yourself to a certain extent the way I have, or if you just if you never bought into internalized self misogyny in the first place, which good for you if that's the case, then I don't see how you can enjoy this show. Because even a character that's supposed to be like the most badass, beloved character of the whole show, Maddie, she's still like, he has her up there saying the most cliche misogynistic lines, automatically painting someone who chose to live the sugar baby lifestyle as a hooker, right? So therefore, she's less legitimate than someone like Maddie, who's just working a traditional job and earning her own money. That's so classically patriarchal and misogynistic. Like, I don't buy into that, you know? Who am I to judge or say anything if a girl decides to go the S-work route or go the sugar daddy, sugar baby lifestyle route to gain a leg up or to survive in this world? That's misogyny 101. You're going to blame the S-workers when, in fact, the only reason that they exist is because they're providing the supply to the demand. The customers of these S-workers are the ones that are giving them the business, and they're demanding their services. So because of that, you're going to villainize the women that step up to provide those services, because it's a way, they see it as a viable way to earn a living. So you're going to villainize the women? Make it make sense. But anyway, I think I look quite cute. Here's the final look. Cute, right? I don't necessarily think the warmth of the eyeshadow matches the blush, but nevertheless, I just wanted to show you some new products that I've been playing around with lately. But yeah, like I mentioned, this looks absolutely crazy in person, but I don't care because I'm just going to be walking around my own neighborhood. I'm going to put on some lip liner just to add some more depth. I was contemplating getting the matching lip liner to the Chanel shade. I thought they were selling it in sets. When I saw the advertisement, they showed both the lipstick and the lip liner in this exact shade. So then I asked her, oh, is it coming in a set? And she was like, no, that's just, sorry, that's our deceptive advertising. So I just opted for the lipstick because this alone was 7,000 yen. But now I'm thinking, like, do I want to just go ahead and get the lip liner because I do always end up putting some on. It just feels unfinished to me, especially if I'm wearing a bold color. But this liner is slightly darker, as you can see, which creates a cool ombre effect. But I don't know, like maybe sometimes there's some days that I want just this solid color, right? So is it worth it to get a lip liner just to help me achieve that effect? The answer is yes. I mean, it's always worth it if I have the extra funds, but I think I have bigger fish to fry though before that. So we'll hold off on the lip liner for now. I'm just going to deal with my ColourPop, what is this called? Bunny Boo lip liner from the Bratz collection. But I'm loving this lip color. It looks very dark and vampy in this lighting. It's very, very friendly for every day, I promise you. It's almost giving like Maddie vibes, wouldn't you say? I feel like Maddie is known for that very like vampy, dark glam look. But yeah, it's so telling to me when she said that line in the trailer of, oh, well, I'm not a hooker, like those girls that are engaging in sugar activities. That just, it takes me out of the whole story and the dialogue. Because I'm like, oh, I know that a bunch of misogynistic ass perv men wrote this. Because like, how are you going to write all these degrading scenes and these OF scenarios for Sydney Sweeney, but then at the same time, you cannot help but to slip in a line there about how you actually look down on and you villainize these S workers, the very S workers that you lust after and that you're a creep about, and you use your actresses, you force your actresses to portray those degrading scenarios. In your eyes, they're degrading, right? Because again, you're a misogynistic POS. But yeah, like we can't even have an honest exploration of young girls engaging in that type of work in one of the biggest TV series of this time without having the dialogue be laced with just casual patriarchal misogyny, internalized misogyny, as always, because remember, they have Alexa Demi, who is like one of the Golden Girl favorite characters on the show, saying this. I'm sure they have some input, but I don't think she has that much pull to where she can demand to have full control over all her lines. Plus, that's not her job. She wouldn't have time necessarily to nitpick at every single little thing. And it just ruins the entire show for me. Like, I don't see the appeal of Euphoria. I do. It's kind of one of those things where, I mean, the production value is really good. The visual style of Euphoria is extremely iconic, although that itself was was stolen from a young female artist that was originally signed onto the project that they just discarded as soon as they realized that they could turn it into a really lucrative, huge thing. And because they had more power and more know-how than her, they just discarded of her after she'd already put her blood, sweat, and tears into the initial work. Petra Collins is the name of the female artist who actually originated the whole Euphoria aesthetic, you know, like the dreamy dream sequence, blurred, even the makeup style, like the makeup and the fashion, the jewel tones, like the blues and the purples and stuff. That was all Petra Collins's aesthetic that they straight up lifted or plagiarized, really. But she couldn't do anything about it, right? Because she probably signed a contract that she wasn't sure exactly what she was agreeing to. And so she can't take legal recourse against them. Or even if she could, technically, she would not be able to win against them in court on account of just resources. Like, they would be able to hire a better lawyer than her. Anyway, I gotta go buy my little USB port thing. It's called a docking station. Okay. It literally says docking station here. I was like, what is this freaking thing called? And why do we have to buy this separately now? Every time we buy a new MacBook. Since when did laptops not come with pre-built-in plugs for various devices that are necessary accessories to use in conjunction with a laptop? I don't understand. Okay, thanks for hanging out. I will catch you guys later. And once again, this was the feature of the day, my new Guerlain Denim Blossom eyeshadow quad and my one size blush trio and the Chanel limited edition packaging Rouge Velvet Allure. This smells amazing. It's like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like a nutty smell. like very warm, nutty, floral. I love a good scented lipstick.